Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cactus Patch. My name is Cactus, and today we will be going over the 20XX League. This is the recap, and joining me is none other than Dapple Productions' very own Pinky. Pinky, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm always so amazed by your interest, man. I'm sick, so
You know, that's
I'm
fair.
actually I'm actually sick, so not doing. I mean, it could be better, but it's fine. I'll go through it.
Well, regardless of that, I appreciate you coming on here, even as you're sick. Hopefully, you feel better soon. Um, So let's get right into things. So tell us about you. How did you get into Splatoon? How'd you get into TOing? Things like that. Like what drew you to this game?
Well, I mean, I started. I think Splatoon 1 was one of those games where I was immediately gravitated to in
Hmm.
Splatoon 1, and I literally bought it day one, but I was never in like a team environment, and I wasn't aware of the competitive side of the scene until I want to say 2017.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was actually Dude's video that was like an introduction to competitive Splatoon, something. Join my Discord server, and then from that I joined a team, and then the rest is history.
What was the first team you joined?
Uh, all right, so it's okay. So the first, so there was a clan. Remember clans?
Yeah,
Remember that
back in
that
the
that,
day.
yeah, back in the good old days there were clans.
Hmm.
I remember my first. I was actually in Splatoon 1, but we never played ever. But I was just like IRL friends with one of the members who was also from my own country, and it was called Flying Kraken.
Okay.
And uh, ironically, Arashi, you know Arashi?
Yes, yes.
The yeah, he was in that quote unquote clan back then. But I mean, we never talked. We never did anything. It was like on Skype. It was
Oh
like
man, the Skype days.
it was pre-Discord. It was pre-Discord. It was so long
Hmm.
ago. God
Yeah.
damn. But like, all right. But my first team, like actual team, was like in 2017. I figured out what the competitive side of Splatoon was. I joined Dude's Discord server. I found all the way. That was the like that was the name of the very first team
Hmm.
that I joined, and I'm actually still very good friends with all of those people. Like literally 2 months ago, we went on a trip together to Amsterdam. So
Oh, that's
it was
awesome.
yeah, it was fun. Yeah, all the way. That's my first team.
That's awesome. I love that. Did you guys ever compete in a tournament? Like, what was like maybe the first or like last tournament you competed in?
I mean, it has to be like luthier. It'll have to be like either paddling pool or a luthi or like SC scraper for those old school who remember what that was. Um, I mean, all things considered, I think back then we were considered
Hmm.
decent-ish. I think I don't know. I mean, I think we were Division 1 in luthi or like our latest like seasons were in season 1, but we never
Okay.
made it to playoffs. We were never good enough to like compete with the top of Division 1, but we
Yeah.
were just on the brim of like, all right, these guys are not complete and utter horseshit. So yeah,
They could put up a fight.
yeah.
So, what got you into TOing then? So you started in Platoon 1, you found your way through these videos to get into the competitive scene. What was kind of that moment for you that was like, I really want to start TOing events?
Uh, I think that's like a pattern that I've seen with many people that later on went to TO, but they are like very active in giving feedback.
Hmm.
I think it was like either sea scraper or paddling pool that I was very active in like the help desk and the feedback. FEAT, and I was always like thinking of ways to like improve it.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I can do this. That doesn't seem so hard. And I did like the first tournament. It was like a completely new one. In 2018, it was called Poseidon Cup.
Okay.
I don't know if many people remember that, but it was like a Friday tournament, and Alice actually liked that so much that she made her own tournament named after it, and that's what Trident Cup. That's what that is today.
Oh, it's so cool. The origin of Triton Cup. I love that. So, was Dapple Productions the first, like, I guess, quote unquote org you've worked for? Was that the only one you really stuck with, or would do you kind of like around and about helping wherever you could?
I mean, the concept of orcs, like, it was very much not a thing.
Yeah.
It was a thing, but
Hmm.
it was mostly on like Endgame TV, right? Like
Yeah.
Endgame TV was like an orc. It was not like I know it was the orc. And they were like, but those guys were not like a solely Splatoon org. They were then an actual business that like did like Smash tournaments, and they were paid to go to LANs and stuff.
Okay.
So, but but the now mainstream concept of like a Splatoon organization that is just a bunch of people that host a bunch of tournaments basically for free online. I think when Dapple was sort of like when I got into the picture of Dapple, I think the only org around there was IPL. I don't think there was anyone else like there.
Yeah. Okay.
But that to answer your question, yeah, Dapple was the first like quote unquote org I I joined.
That's cool. That's awesome. So yeah, because like nowadays, like obviously everyone's familiar with IPL and Dapple as the main Splatoon organizations that run majority of the community's events, and then of course you have a couple other ones that slowly are popping up here within the past maybe year and a half to 2 years, pretty much Splatoon 3's lifespan. So it's cool to know that like before like orgs were really even a thing, like it was just like that main company that had helped host Splatoon tournaments, and it just kind of Splatoon just kind of formed its own thing.
Hmm. I remember the like very beginning, like when Dapples was created at the very start. It was literally just Alice, and Alice was like trying like she made completely new tournaments, but she made like three new tournaments. One of them was Triton Cup, the other was like some other single elimination tournament that no risk of something I don't remember. And there was another one that I can't recall the name, but she literally made everything from scratch, like
Wow.
from the very beginning. And when I got into the picture, I was like, okay, all these small tournaments are like they don't provide anything. So let's just keep what people want, which at the time was the Trident Cup, and abolish everything else and bring in the sort of already established quote unquote tournaments that were around. So on the sort of rebranding when I joined, Paddling Pool joined the picture and also Squid Junction joined the picture.
Okay, cool,
And
cool.
yeah.
And at some point, I think it was recently, right? Well, quote unquote recently, I guess, depending on what your definition of recently is. Um, the TOs for 20XX got into the picture, right?
Uh yeah. Yeah, it was relatively speaking, it was recently. Yeah, although it has been a while. I don't even remember which 20X was the first one, but Baja made the tournament on its own,
Mm.
and I think the first iteration of that he puts like $200 or something, and he had Chara make a stream for that. And after that, he came to us and it's like, okay, we would like 20X to run under the Dapple brand, and we saw an opportunity there to like, right. So these people are willing to are willing to provide what we can't provide, which is sort of the prize pools,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
Because they were
yeah.
very passionate. So and we can and with our powers combined with our protections and and their TOing and sort of monetary gain, we could sort of get this thing started.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
absolutely. That's awesome. You guys were able to help each other out. They brought a very exciting and hyped kind of major in a sense, rather than just like your average weekly. And then you were also able to provide like the streaming platform and the org help that would maybe required for it. Like it was a good mix.
mm-hmm.
So, what is maybe one or multiple favorite memories you have of TOing? It could be from a specific event or maybe a specific moment, or if you can't name a specific something specific, maybe overall.
God. I hope I'd have one in the 6 years I've been around. It would be scary if I don't. Uh, I remember it was a random like paddling pool that
Hmm.
was in like I it was it was nowadays it was prehistoric. It was like paddling pool like 50-ish, something around that ballpark. It was like one
Hmm.
of the earliest ones.
Yeah.
And back then Alice was still the head of paddling pool. Um, and I remember like one day we just for no reason got like 50 teams signed up. It was like insane, and where when we usually like got like 10 to 15 at most, right?
Yeah.
So that that big jump was like, okay, what are we doing here? So and like nowadays we have like we have like we have these concepts in our minds, and like okay, we have like it's whatever, like if what no matter how many teams sign up we can handle them. But back then it was like, okay, we can't run double elimination tournament on a Wednesday that's gonna run for 7 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
No, absolutely.
So we were like, okay, let's do Swiss, right? Let's just do Swiss. And it was a mess. It was an absolute mess because we didn't know how to drop teams on challenge. So every time, and people will just when they decided to drop, the bracket will still sit them against another team. So there will be multiple rounds in a row where multiple teams were were matched up against like other teams who were dropped. So they had a bye. So they had to wait for 30 minutes until their next round, only for that to possibly also be like a
Another
bye.
buy, yeah, because they're dropping. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
I don't know. I have this memory. No, and I remember it being super stressful for Alice at the time, and I was obviously under a lot of stress as well. But we made it work somehow, and I remember it was it was like it wasn't the tournament itself that was like the fun part for me. It was like the community reaction from it.
Hmm.
Because nowadays, like I I don't know, like nowadays there's so many options, there's so many options. But back then it was paddling pool, and paddling pool get 50 teams, and the people were more forgiving, and the comments on Twitter were so so nice, and they were like, "Oh, I had so much fun." Oh, and this was like one of my favorite tournaments. I can't wait for the next one. It was like it was small stuff like that. I was like, "Okay, all right, this was a mess. We will figure it out." But I'm glad it happened because I love opportunities like that, and I love when the community also like reacts positively to a quote unquote mess. Like nowadays, I like a TO will sneeze in the wrong frequency, and there will be 10 tweet longers, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then, like the community was a lot more forgiving and understanding of situations like that that were like unprecedented. Like jumping from 15 to 50 teams, it's just like Like that's an insane jump, right? Like or like numbers around like that where you just get a huge increase in teams competing in an event that you're not ready to handle that like quantity can be stressful. And it's nice to hear like back then like it helped a lot that the teams were understanding, they were caring, they knew that it could be a lot, and regardless, still had a good time.
Mm. It, it's also the fact that the community was a lot smaller back then,
Yeah.
and I was also an active player, so a lot of the people that were like showing the support were like I either knew them or we were friends or like it was like a small neighborhood where your neighbor which you have not talked to in like a few months suddenly comes out of the woodworks or to like
Yeah.
say something about you. It was a different time. It was a completely different time.
Hmm.
Like nowadays I have no idea. Like the scene is so much bigger. Like there's like I tune into a stream and half of the time I'm like who are they? Like I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the community just keeps on growing, and we're at a point now where it's like you might hear a name you think you know, and then it's like it's it's just once in a blue moon you see that somebody you know now because there's just so many people watching and participating to help out the events that it you lose track.
Mm.
So, did you ever imagine Dapple growing to the size that it is now? When you were first starting out to like help out with like TOing the scene?
I mean, I saw the potential,
Hmm.
right? Because at the time that I joined, like Double as an org, uh, as I said earlier, it was already an established thing, but I thought Alice was going about it in expanding it in the wrong ways. So I saw the potential about it. I obviously like couldn't like think that far ahead of like what the Dapple brand has become today. But like I saw that like opportunity to like, okay, if we make an org,
Hmm.
we can put official streams for all of those tournaments under the umbrella of the org. And for back then, that was huge.
Yeah.
That there were no like tournament streams. What is that? There was none of that. Like the only org who would put the tournament streams that I will care about was in like Endgame TV,
Yeah.
like and Ink TV, right? But and those were, I don't know. I feel like those either so far and like so few and far between, or it was like at 5 a.m. my time because it's fucking Black and Spoon and they're American.
Yeah, no, you don't want to be staying up till like 6 a.m. to watch a tournament.
Yeah.
But it's right, yeah, a lot of events back then weren't like people don't realize how good they have it now. That like almost everything is streamed, whether player perspective or you're able to get the overhead tournament perspective. But back then there really wasn't anything like majorly being streamed, and there's so many I've heard like other like commentators that have been in the scene a lot longer just like talk about how like back then like a lot of these events are lost to history. A lot of these great matches that many people will remember are just it's just in their minds because there wasn't maybe streams were saved. Maybe if it wasn't streamed, it's just being able to hear about it. Um, it just you didn't have a lot of what we have now.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So shifting gears a little bit here, 20XX League. What were your thoughts on it from the beginning?
Uh, when it's weird because I I always felt like for the 20XX series, like I always saw the 20XX series as this like opportunity to like push it further and further. And under my eyes, I thought that every single 20XX tournament was consecutively better production wise than the last one. And I always like tried to like have that at least goal.
Yeah.
And well, the viewership was always lower on each consecutive one, but that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
But I remember Lead and Baja coming to us and be like, "Oh, we want to make a 2 month league," and I was like, "No, we're not. I'm not having this. Like the 20x, like the single day 20x tournaments, like especially the like latest ones, right? Like the like the 20x5 that was very recently, where like we had so much people behind the production. We had like a analytical, what is that called, when an analytics text, right?
Oh
We had an
yeah.
analytics text. Yeah, we made like we recorded interviews of the teams and we edited videos, which you helped a lot.
Yes.
But
Yep.
back
I
then,
remember that.
we had like team previews on that we will post on Twitter. They're like consecutive. Like there's so much behind the scenes that there's like the stress of like, okay, we have to do this, right, and it has to be on time. And on the day of the tournament, God, please make it work.
Yeah.
Please make it not have any issues. And I feel like every 20xs there will be some issue.
Yeah.
and and it's like, which I mean, it's whatever. Like, but at the time you see that platform as like, all right, I've spent so much energy and time into this one thing, and like maybe the streamers internet, like that happened in one 20xx, like 20xx3, I think, that we were partnered with Failbot. That was actually really fun. That the main streamer, the internet was like very lacking,
Hmm.
and I mean it was something literally outside of our control,
Yeah.
that we couldn't do anything about it. And that's usually the most heartbreaking stuff of this. It's like when you do all the preparation and something wrong happens that is outside of your control. I mean, I never blamed, and like I feel like I think the mistake that I kept doing, and I sort of slowly started into come to the realization of it, is that it's a team effort, and there's so much work that can be distributed against so many people, so that I wasn't feeling as overwhelmed,
Hmm.
right? So when Lead and Baja came to me and they're like, okay, let's do a league, right?
Hmm.
My initial idea was, okay, so that that entire stress, that entire sort of like that whole thing stretched out to a 2 month period. I was like, no,
Hmm.
there's no way my heart can handle it.
Yeah.
But right, but looking back at it, it was definitely the right call.
Hmm.
It was, yeah, it was definitely the right call.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine how stressful it had to be going thinking about what like running an event like that for 2 months because, like you said, you had to have hope so much went correctly leading up to the one day, one weekend that major would be, and then also when the final day is there, everything can go right. You have all the production value correctly. You have team participants are still going correctly. You have no issues with things out of your control, like you said, like with Wi-Fi, or even like if you, depending on the site you're using, right? Maybe Challenge, maybe Battlefy, maybe
Mhm.
Sendu. You're hoping none of it crashes.
Yeah,
Just there was so
yeah.
many variables. I could totally see how stressful it could have been. Um, and here we were, 20x League um goes underway. Um, what so was most of it of the 20x League, like as we went forward, right, with the qualifiers? Um, did you have a huge hand in helping in the qualifiers, or were you able to kind of like take a breather and someone else was able to help push a lot of what was going on for those to find the qualifying teams?
Oh, definitely. Like, especially Lit Blue. Lit Blue is the goat, right? Like
Yeah.
he like stepped up, took all these responsibilities. He like communicated with the teams. He like he did so much preparation. He was amazing at it. Like like it was, like the 26 league. Like on hindsight, I can see where I was coming from. Where okay, so it's this tournament that's so special for a 2 month period, but the 2 months period allowed us to breathe,
Hmm.
allowed us to like make this in what it felt like was a more responsible way for both the money that we put into it and our health, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
um, but yeah, I like 26 League, like out of every 26 event that has run in the past, was definitely the most smooth run event ever.
That's
And
awesome.
I was, yeah, I was really, really like satisfied with the result of it.
What's like maybe a favorite part or moment that you had from the qualifiers that you were if you were able to catch some of them?
Uh, I'm gonna sound like a boring old man, but I don't really watch many games. I don't really follow
That's
the scene.
fair.
I don't right.
Yeah, no, I
like
honestly I get that.
I don't. I mean, part of it is also like the fact that I feel so discontinued that what the scene was
Yeah.
back when I knew it the best, and now it's like all these people that have stepped up, and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't know you, so it's harder to like make connections and feel the stakes
Hmm.
for the match going in front of you. But I think, I mean, the favorite parts, I mean, it will have to be like production side of things. I really enjoyed the the playoffs. Like the thing you did with Popgun, I forgot its name. The playoffs preview, the playoffs
Oh
preview
yeah,
that
yes,
you
yes.
did with Popgun 9 and Cable. That was so much fun listening to it and seeing like people in chat react to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say like how about like let's actually like let's switch this up a bit. Like what are some of your favorite parts from the like overall like from like the qualifiers to the matches that would take place from like the kind of Ludi almost esque format of like the best of sevens, like from a production perspective, like where like did you enjoy how things were running smoothly? Did you enjoy um the the way the communication between teams and like commentators and everything went out? Like let's actually like turn this on its head. Instead of like the viewing perspective, how about like from the production side, what were some like key highlights for you?
Uh, I think, I mean, I'm just glad Metro won, to be honest. I'm just glad. Like we don't like. I remember seeing Zenith tweet out that Ghost wasn't gonna play,
Hmm.
and she was being like very pessimistic about it. It was like, oh, I only wanted to win a single tournament or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I really wanted to Metro to win, just not only for some European representation,
Hmm.
right? Even if it was like half the team, but also like Kyo and the others don't need more tournament wins. They're fine. They they won all the other stuff,
Yeah,
right?
they've been
Like
around long enough. They have too many under their
yeah,
belt.
yeah. I have. Let's have Metro win. Let's have
Yeah,
Metro
let's
win.
have a new winning.
That's way more fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it made for amazing like headlines as well. I mean obviously it was talked about during like the pre-shows and everything, which you did mention you were able to catch. So it's like it's it's fun seeing a team win that's not someone you've seen win the past like 4+ years, right? Because like a lot of those players on Guru have been playing in so many events, have so many wins under their belt. It's refreshing to have now new names to put as a champion. It's refreshing to be able to hand that trophy to someone else. And could pave the way too for these new players, this new era of top level players to come out and represent, themselves, the countries, of course, they play for, and just new opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely agree.
So what has helped like running this league taught you?
It has taught me that I not transition into this. It doesn't. Uh, I mean, like all the like 20xx before, it was
Mm.
like it was a lesson from the production side of things, but it
Yeah.
also it was sort of I feel like in general the community is like moving away from online tournaments,
Hmm.
right? I understand like the whole thing of like, all right, the 20xx was a success, it went to the end, now what's next, right? But the it's kind of hard to like because like I don't know, there's not much interest. I didn't feel like there was much interest. Like like the Lit Blue and Baja were like, I remember them coming to me with the league idea, and they were like, okay, this is like Resurgence League. Okay, sounds good. And I had very good opinions of Resurgence League,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like they did such a good job with like so many insane production material that they constantly put out on Twitter. But it was also like that the teams themselves had they were also standing on their own 2 feet, right? Like there were stakes and there were time and there were like storylines that the teams were out there telling them themselves. Like in Resurgence League did a good job highlighting them themselves, but
Yeah.
like I felt like for the league there wasn't any of that. Like the main teams were like I I mean I never felt like the like either Celeste or Black Lotus or Moonlight. I never felt like they could win it, but I was really glad to have them, to have some team representation. That
Yeah.
felt like such a fresh air. Um, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird
Yeah. No,
because we
absolutely.
yeah.
Because we are in a weird era right now with Splatoon where we're having so many in-person events pop up than ever before. And it's a weird moment right now where it's like a weird transition phase of like you have a lot of players going to locals or lands that might be near them. And then you have, a lot of online tournaments that are, I mean, it's not like how it was like maybe a year ago where there was like not really anything. Now there's like everything to compete in. And I feel like it's so spread out rather than being able to be kind of honed in on a select few. And because like there's practically a new tournament every day. Like every day there's something to compete in. So it does make it a little bit
every
more challenging.
every week there's 35 tournaments listed on Sendero Ring. What?
Yeah,
Like
that's insane.
there's so it's it's weird because I feel like both Sendikyu and this over like because I do feel like there's way too many tournaments. I
Hmm.
really do feel like there's way too many tournaments right now. Uh, it's hard to pay attention to any single one,
Yeah.
right? I have personally seen the numbers in both the viewership and like the participation drop for across the board on all on our tournaments. Like even 20xx, even the qualifiers for 20xx only had like 25 teams each per qualifier. And although that made it easier from a TOing perspective that we could manage them much easily,
Hmm.
a part of me was like, okay, what is going on? Where are the teams? It's
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Send the Q has like sort of replaced the need for tournaments because tournaments back in my day were like the go-to if you want to improve at the game. The teams that wanted to improve at the game, they were playing tournaments, and low level was also not as an established thing
Hmm.
back then. So it was either you play in this open tournament or you don't play at all, and that sort of forced teams out of their like bubble, right? If they wanted to have fun, they needed to like progress in the bracket. Otherwise, I mean, it's not fun playing a tournament going 0-2.
Yeah.
And although I think low level having a competitive scene as much as they do, and having that quote unquote major that is lowing every single month, it is overall very helpful for the scene.
Hmm.
But I also think that makes those players that are like not like low level per se, like not like forced to push for for like for like the higher for like to do better, right? It's
Yeah.
I don't know. Like Kyo has been like the quote unquote king, winning every single tournament since how many years? Since my time, like since
Hmm.
2018, 2017, right? I like I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Maybe I'm just being pessimistic about it, but I feel like there's a lot less people pushing to become like high level.
Hmm.
But I don't know. That's just my 2 cents
Yeah, I mean,
on
I
it.
feel like it's more tricky now too, and like I mentioned it before, on my own accords, where it's like top level's in a spot right now where we're in like a little bit, and even like kind of bleeding into mid level. It's as someone who is a mid level player, it feels like there's a lot less team, more pickup culture, where you can have a group of 20 people that will constantly rotate players around into competing in the multitude of events that we have, which again, I still feel strongly like I agree with you. We have way too many events. Like it's crazy to think they used to like roughly 35 sometimes a week, based on the Sendu calendar for events. Like that's a mind-blowing number when sometimes we'd be lucky if we had five.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Like yeah.
yeah, it's challenging to think that like we're at a point where a lot of team there's no team creation and there's no team momentum and movement to wanna push to be the best. You have individual players that would love to get there, but I feel like it's more challenging now because of how many events you have. It's like, okay, like I could enter in this event, but there's not a lot of teams that play, so I could win it, but then I need to win against these certain players because there's that kind of like player hierarchy where, a lot of the teams that you could uh have shown as a good result of getting better either aren't playing in that one event or they're playing in something else, and then it just kind of snowballs into of what's the best way to kind of keep pushing yourself up there. And then that's when you turn to like something like Sendo Q, where that kind of has taken over the need to want to single-handedly scrim a lot more, if you're
Mm.
mid-level and above, because I mean, Sendo Q is a really good alternative. It's the better
Yeah.
X rank alternative that's kind of done more than just be the new X rank. It's kind of allowed for it's kind of increased the pickup culture now that I really think about it, because you're able to
Oh, really?
pair with so many other players.
Yeah. I I don't know. Maybe I'm old fashioned, but I feel like the fun of the game, it's not necessarily the game itself. It's the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
It's like it's the friendship you made along the way, right? Like it's a, right. It's like I can't like I remember there was a time like after my initial team I immediately got into another team, and then after that team I had a small period where I was a free agent and I was doing like pickups consistently because I actually really pushed to improve.
Hmm.
And I felt like from a different perspective, I also I feel like I improved in the game much better from like being a free agent that I ever did in being in a team for like
Hmm.
3-4 years, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, but at the end of the day, it's like it was so miserable. Like every single time you have to play with new people, and every single time there's this expectation from you. There, like you can, like I feel like I could never be like very like I could I could never form actual relationships with like the pickups that
Mm-hmm.
I felt into. If you're like in a server with like 20 people and you're rotating around those 20 people, like how much like there isn't any opportunities to form friendships. There's no like opportunities to like I don't know, like the team that I was on, I mentioned earlier, like we're still very good friends. We're still very much active together. We became real life friends and we're
Yeah.
going on trips, right? I understand the idea that Splatoon is like this game and it's competitively and it's fun, but like when this is gone, what are you left with?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
absolutely. You bring up a really strong point. I mean, that's something like I've noticed myself is that like that friendship creation that you just mentioned is kind of gone once you reach a certain skill level in the game. Like I remember back, I still remember the early teams that I was on and how much fun we had when I was low level. Like
yeah.
shout out to my first team I was ever on, Selfless Holes. Like they brought me into like the real competitive realm of actually entering in tournaments, and like that's those players are still a family to me. I still talk to many of them to this day, but now it's like I feel hard to connect to so many players because it's like you play a pickup with them once and you see them again. It's like, oh hey, how's it going? Like, what you been up to?
Yeah.
But it's not
Yeah.
like how if you're on a team and you're with those players all the time, you're talking about your lives. You're talking about what your goals are in game and outside of game. You're not really building that friendship that Splatoon allows you to create like it used to. Now it feels like
Mm-hmm.
once you get past that moment, it's like thank you for the memories low level, but now I'm going to go everywhere and anywhere, play with anyone,
Yeah.
everyone, and focus more on like building up that skill and hopes that I get there rather than trying to get there with the people around you that might have the same goal in mind.
Yeah. I mean, the like there isn't even like the entirety of like the scene is all grassroots. They're all fueled by passion and clout, and there's very little monetary advantages to them. So
Mm.
it's not like people are like pushing to like get money, right?
Yeah, no,
Like
exactly.
I can get the competitive mindset from a pickup culture that is created around esports like Valorant, where you don't necessarily, I mean, you still are in a team and you form like this sort of connection with each other. But at the end of the day, like every end of the year, like you have this sort of contrast that the team that is paying you, it will decide to either leave you or don't,
Mm.
right? Or like and like the roster gets mixed around, and it's like for that environment, I understand the pickup culture. I understand the whole this whole idea. I don't understand it for Splatoon. I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Splatoon's not. It's not at a point yet where making it to the top is anything for a financial gain. It's more of just like
No.
you mentioned. It's more for the kind of the cloud aspect, and that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Like it's cool to be like, oh yeah, I'm the best. I beat this player, and that's kind of what fuels a lot of players' drive is to want to be better than the best or
Yeah.
become the best. But um, we're kind of shining away from that moment where it's like I'm with these people that I've been playing with for X amount of time. We're gonna be the best. We're gonna do it. And now it's more of I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be the best. It's more individualized than it is turning to that team effort. And I
Yeah.
mean, something that the 20XX League has kind of showed me, especially after like the player interviews, is that um a lot of those players that like are more friendly now came from when they were individually on teams that got to be the
Mm-hmm.
best, and then once the team aspect kind of dissipated, they became more of that huge pickup group that enters in like anything and everything, and they built it that way. And I just feel like the lower skill level it gets, that's harder to do because there's just so many people around those areas. There's a lot of mid level. There's certainly a lot of low level. So creating that kind of environment where like it's like pick up first, friends later only really should apply to top level because there's so little of them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I agree. I mean, you bring a valid point, but I don't know. What are we doing this for? For like 50 more likes on Twitter? Is that all? Is that all? Like Twitter will get banned from half the countries in a year. Like the way it's going, most of the people are like already moving away from Twitter. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
A lot of the scenes also getting older, so a lot of them don't really care anymore.
No, yeah.
But it's, I guess those extra likes pay for something, I guess. Like, it plays for the clout. That's it. It pays for the clout.
uh,
All right. So something I did have I want to ask is, what are some things that maybe you hope to change or maybe start doing that maybe that now that the league is finished,
hmm.
if anything?
And I know that there's an expectation for me to answer here that like we need to keep pushing and the next 20xx league we will learn from the mistakes we made on this one and which there were a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we will make it better and bigger and better for the scene. But part of me also is like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm just getting old. Maybe it's just the fact that I've been doing this for so long and I've sort of desensitized myself
Mm-hmm.
to this sort of thing. But I feel like it's like a decision I have to make for like my health. I can't have this mindset of I have to keep pushing forward. I have to make it bigger and better and
Mm-hmm.
every like right
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
all the meanwhile I'm surrounded by like a scene that I feel like it I don't know it's like there's no interest
Mm-hmm.
there's a okay, no interest is wrong. There's a reduced interest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
It's not as big as it
yeah,
used to be.
no, definitely. I remember the first 1xx tournament we did for Splatoon 3. We got 1,000 viewers.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was mind breaking numbers,
Yeah.
right? And nowadays there's people like arguing on Twitter or like, why is 20xx League getting less viewers than Low Ink? And I mean, I don't know. Why is it getting less viewers? I don't know.
Yeah. I think
It's just less interesting.
it
Yeah.
exactly. I think I agree with you. I think the level of interest in watching these kind of events has dwindled significantly, and I feel like that kind of came going hand in hand with the growth of the community, where I think it's less people are wanting to watch now, but more wanting to compete, and a lot of those like viewers turn competitors are still in that massive bubble of low level. Like, it's very rare you see players or even certain teams grow past, you know, a certain, like, I guess we call it the lowing threshold, right? Where it's like once you're done with lowing, or once you win, or once you get banned from it, like there's always been that question of what's next. And
Yeah.
um mid level has been that gray area of like where you kind of figure that out, right? And then if you're lucky, you push the top level. If you're not, you're stuck there, you stay there, you kind of play around. Um and with how many play like how much interest has grown to want to actually be a part of the competing scene rather than actually just a viewer of it, I think has significantly definitely affected a lot of viewership for all tournaments. And I see the perspective of why should we push for this to be bigger, better, greater than ever when the viewership's not there. Because it's hard. It's very
Yeah.
demotivating. It's like we could put in all this effort, but um a lot of it isn't processed to that. Oh, lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, it's not a lot of it's not showing up in the numbers that for the level of production that was getting put out, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really demotivating to be like, why want to push for the bigger the better when the viewership's not matching that.
Yeah. It is, but yeah, no, you're right. But I think it's yeah. I mean, it has to do like it's a service issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like like I think like the reason why LANs have been popping off lately and they're getting insane viewership that they have been, and especially like I remember watching Riptide and like how much did they get, like 1,500, 1,500. I don't know. It was like some insane number that I couldn't fathom, so I just
Yeah.
blanked it out. But I feel like those LAN tournaments create even the smaller ones. Like I saw Splatoony tweet about providing streams for all those LANs. I feel
Mhm.
like those streams are gonna do very good as well. Like
Mhm.
it's a service issue. Like nowadays, there's so much pickup culture and there's so much like if a team wants to practice, they're probably not going to participate in a tournament, or at least that's how I feel like most people think. They're gonna go on Send queue and practice there.
Yeah.
But and in this way, we're sort of providing a service for a product that is outdated,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and I feel like slowly the scene is going to move more and more towards more and more lands. And I've, I don't know how the online scene will react to that,
Mhm.
but I feel like it's just going to drive us more and more away.
Yeah, it's a lot harder. It's like as someone who goes to a lot more like locals, especially where I live with Metro Inc.'s Big Dapples and Gridlock, and even attending most U.S. lands majors like Reptide LTC. Like from like that experience being there is definitely unlike any other. And it's something
Yeah.
you can't get from an online experience of just an online tournament. And the viewership also matches it too. Like you with those cameras of being able to see the players, seeing the
Mm-hmm.
audience, being able to hear the crowd in the commentary microphones because they're so loud for these moments. We're seeing kind of the rise of in-person events and um online events are kind of being pushed aside. And I can't help but feel if like what like as like a what if is like what if we stopped the large amount of online tournaments we had and really honed in on the ones that are, bring in that momentum of players want to compete in it, right? Those weeklies that still put up the numbers more than others, the monthlies
Mm.
that do a lot better. Once we hit a point where we're seeing obviously more in-person events, because right now like there's a lot of places that still don't have in-person locals, in-person majors across the world. I know like in the states, like we like a lot of states are now popping up with their own locals. I think like this the next by the past 6 months to the next 2 months, like this end half of the year, we've had like 8 or 9 different states have a local, which is insane to think about, where like a year ago we had one or two if we were lucky.
Yeah.
And that was on each coast. You had SoCali, and then you had Metro Inc. that had just started introducing Big Dapple, and now you have H Town Splashdown, New Inkland. You have so many my brain can't even think of because there's just so many popping up. Um, but you have all of the Sea Battle. That was the other one I was thinking of. Like you have all these now popping up around, and more that are in the talk. I think in Indianapolis is trying to think of their own. I think Georgia has their own that they've been running. So locals, I think, are starting to turn the gears, and more players are going to start getting involved in person. And at some point, there's going to probably be that switch of where we're going to see a big dwindle at a lot of the online events that maybe popped up out of nowhere, like as they usually do, and then they'll dwindle out, and the main ones will stay. And it's gonna be best to probably push for the ones that do well, so that way it's a good mix of here's some online tournaments, then go to your local, then go to your major.
Yeah. Man, you're so lucky to are in a country where there's this growth in local scene. When I wanted to go to to a local, I had to take a plane for 5 hours.
Oh my
Right?
god.
Like you just drive like to New York and then you have your
Yeah.
like local scene right there, and they're like all like recurrent people that you see over and over
Hmm.
again. It's like that's so much fun, right?
Yeah.
Like please support your locals. It's like it will literally be the backbone of the of the community scene as it is growing right now. Like
Mm-hmm.
the the better the locals are, the more satisfied those organizers are, the more we'll have, the more they will pop up.
Yeah.
They're just yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for those that maybe wanna that if you're watching at this point, go out there and see who's in your area to make a local as well. And if you're not in the US, especially because we need to see more lands outside. I think the UK has had like Splat Vibes and Breeze that have popped up from time to time, and like it'd be so cool like as someone who like loves seeing like the US have a lot of locals and stuff and majors. I'd love to see what else is out there across the waters, across the globe. Like let's see what what other players on other countries have to offer for their competitiveness, because it's so exciting to watch these other countries have their own put on production and their own spin on their competitive scenes. um and it would just be so exciting to see, especially with no word in sight if we're gonna see a Nintendo qualifier major world championship anytime soon.
Mm. uh, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, to talk about just because you mentioned 20th round now, right?
Yes.
Um, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I would love to be in a LAN settings doing production. I haven't had the opportunity yet,
Mhm.
but I would love to sometime in the near future.
I feel like it's like I'm someone who hasn't like I've only done commentary, but I feel like it's a whole nother like experience that obviously you can't get online. It's like still computer clicking, but like you're surrounded with other people now
Yeah, yeah.
instead of like
You,
in,
you you
in
put
in a room or kitchen or anything.
you put a face to the ugly Discord icon, and it's like it's a complete.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's an actually living human being that wants to hang out with me because I'm like a Division 2 fucking Clash Blaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
No,
funny.
I know what you mean. Yeah, the weird cat trying to lick me through the screen profile picture is actually a person that's helping tell me where I'm supposed to go compete in my set.
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you think we may see the return of the 20XX League, if not a league in general, by Dapple Productions?
Um, Probably. I mean, I can't talk for certain
Hmm.
because I mean, the original idea behind the 26 League was that it was going to be a consistent event every summer,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But Lit and Baja, which were both the backbone and like were also like putting in the money for the 26 to happen,
Yeah.
uh, they decided to step down. I don't know if they will want to come in the near future, but from the information that I got for them is that for at least a year they won't be around,
Hmm.
right? Will we ever say 26? It depends to if we get the money for it, right? Like because 26 is this brand that's like you can't just make a 26. It's like you have to have some money behind it, so it draws it like it provides a service that's beyond the like send the queue experience. It provides
Yeah.
a service that's like, okay, these top teams are gonna want to play in it and actually like give it their best, which in return will help us like make a better viewer experience for everyone. But like it, it depends on a lot of things. I'm not sure. Like
Yeah, and I think that's a fair
I
answer because, like, let's not forget, the league just ended.
yeah.
And there's a lot that we don't know, right? This is like we're going into the winter season, right? A lot of people are back at school. A lot of people are looking for jobs now too that maybe finish their degrees or finish anything. I mean, this is definitely one of the most common slow times for Splatoon. And I think
Hmm.
that's understandable and should be expected from not just like viewers of the games and tournaments, but also players as well. It's like if you don't see a huge turnout of events, there's a reason why. Just be understanding of it.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the current plan is to see what the road leads us.
Yeah,
If there
absolutely.
is an opportunity in the near future, we'll definitely try to grasp it. But I can't say anything for certain at this moment. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem at all. Absolutely. The future is yet to be told, and anything can happen at all, honestly. And I think, honestly, like you did mention that they did say that 21XX League would be cool for they were hoping to have it as like a yearly, which I think would be really cool because
Mhm.
instead of having like couple tournaments here and there throughout the summer, and like you have consistency. And I think that's what helps uh, a lot of players want to compete and grow for. Because it's like instead of being like, oh, what's the next big thing? Next big thing? Oh, I know. The next thing is going to be this, most likely.
Mm. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the team should also put some effort. Like
Yeah.
the top teams need to put some effort. Make teams. Make teams. Don't make pickups. Make me care. Why should I care?
Hmm.
Like why should I care if Kyo pickup number 36 is playing on this event, right? Like there's no like there's nothing,
Yeah.
right?
Because
Like
I mean,
make me care.
exactly. Like from a TO perspective, and even as like for myself, right, for this podcast, when teams win locals, it's really cool because I get to shine the players that win that because you're representing your local scene. You just won for your area. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
For a lot of online majors and events, though, it's challenging to want to be able to tell that story of like a team win. Where if it was like, so if it was a team like Black Lotus or Moonlight, them winning
Yeah.
an event is huge. It's incredible. They're a team. We've seen them grow. We've seen where they've come from. Where they're now. With what's the next big thing? Let's talk about it.
Yeah. It's incredible. Yeah.
But when it's
Yeah.
pickups, it's like I've seen you win event XYZ this year, last year, and now you brought in these other players who also won tournament A, B, and C in 1, 2, and 3, and it's like cool, but from a production standpoint, even from like wanting to talk like a talk about standpoint, you know, am I really gonna say, oh yeah, this player who used to play on this team and this player who played on that team and that player who played like rather than just being like, oh yeah, this team that's been playing forever, like so and so just won this. It's a hard storyteller to tell.
Yeah. It's like and as so many people point out that like compared to the Resurgence League, right?
Mm,
Because I mean that was the only other league.
yeah.
It was like it was insane at that time because the teams had a story to tell and the production made an effort to tell those stories. And I've seen
Yeah.
many people sort of voicing their opinions of like why didn't Dapple do like put in the effort to tell the stories of those teams. I we tried
Yeah.
to have podcasts with them. Cactus, you DM multiple teams, and like out of all the teams you contacted, only Moonlight was willing to do like an interview,
Yeah.
right?
It's hard. It's so hard
Like
in pickup culture, especially with it is because you have so many players that, for one, don't know each other's schedules that well, right? And that's
yeah,
the hardest. That's something I want people to understand. When between team culture and pickup culture is that teams will consistently know when they're free, when they're available, what they're gonna do. Pickup culture, you message each other every once in a while when you're ready to play. That's it. And it's so hard sometimes to get a hold of each other. And yeah, like you said, Piggy, like I really only was able to get an interview to talk further with Moonlight, which, by the way, for those wondering, was the best performing podcast episode I've had to date.
yeah,
Which should say a lot, by the way, which should tell you a lot about the scene as a whole when it comes to pickups versus team culture. People are interested in stories. They love following a team. Pickup culture is not that interesting for viewers. And I know
yeah,
teams might I might get, people teams being like, "Oh, well we don't care because we're playing." Congrats. Okay, cool. But wouldn't it be awesome to have your name attached to something that's team based? Like I guarantee the players on Moonlight and Black Lotus are so excited to be like, oh wait, you're so and so from Black Lotus or from Moonlight or from um whatever. I wouldn't have that many top level teams, but you know what I'm saying. Like
Like
being
it becomes from a viewer perspective, it transforms from a branding uh like issue to like it's like a math issue. It's
yeah.
like you see four players on a team with a name that you have never heard before, and you're like, okay, who's on this team? This guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and you have this sort of perceived number of that player of how good that player is, and
Hmm.
you sort of do the math in your head. It's so hard to follow, like even a play, like if you, but like even Metro now, like even though they're a pickup, even though whatever, like they still have that foundation that they won both Super Jam and 20XX League. Even if that team does any amount of minimal effort to establish themselves as like a pickup group, quote unquote team, like like when and they want to play more tournaments, and for that tournament they get a sub for I don't know either Zenith or Ghost that don't play, and like they have someone else. Like they're still going to go under the Metro brand, and
Hmm.
that's so much easier for a viewer to follow. Other than that, oh, Ghost is gone, and like this player joined. So what is the math in that? Like what does that player provide? More? I don't know. It's hard as a viewer. Like
Yeah.
teams literally keep this scene going. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. No, teams make it easier for outside viewers who maybe aren't that indwelled into competitive to follow. And that should be a key factor to wanna touch upon, right? That's why low level is so popular. That's why so many people want to tune into low link because they know the teams that are competing. They've seen them, they've watched them, they've heard of them, and they've made a name for themselves. I mean, same with a couple of mid-level teams too. Like this is like a personal throw out there for it, but like when I used to be on Aquatic Vanguard, like I remember when I first joined that team, they already had a little bit of that, a little bit of like a fan base because of how much they've competed in events like back then when we had Friday Night Frenzy, of course the Low Inks, the Ludi seasons, like they was just a popular name that had at the time was tossed around, um, and it's like being a part of that and seeing that made me like realize like people care about teams. People want to be able to follow a team story. No one's gonna really turn to follow the individual unless they're doing something that's entertaining like content. Like a lot of Pro Chara's viewers know obviously of the team Last Resort because it's Chara. Chara is a huge content creator who's done a great number of videos for the community and for the scene as a whole, and it's helped grow it. And then once Last Resort is disbanded, it's like we still have Chara. We still know Chara, but the other players kind of are lost to time if you're not following the scene already. If you're kind of just like on the outside perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. You still remember Fit to Win. You still remember Kraken Paradise. You
Yeah,
still remember Team Olive. For
exactly.
for better of you or worse, you still remember Jackpot,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right? What do you remember about Grugru? That team will be nothing in like a month.
Hmm.
Like nobody will remember about
People
that
will
team.
just
Yeah.
reference it as Kyo's pickup
Yeah.
because it
You're right.
had
Yeah.
Kyo.
Yeah. It's cute. Yeah. It's cute speaker. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that should be a real eye opener for top level and even for the pickup culture of mid level. It's like just realize that if all it takes is one person to be more popular than the rest in the group, and that name will follow, like, and your name will get lost in that person's name slash dash pickup. Like we're not calling it Gray's pickup. We're not calling it. I think it was Biscuit's pickup who was playing with them, or Ice's pickup, or anything like that. No, we're calling it Kyo's pickup because Kyo is a lot more prominent of a player and figure in the scene that people will know what you're talking about because they know of Kyo. And like you mentioned with Metro, like it'd be nice to see Metros like stick with that, like just create themselves that team, be an official team, maybe have a sub every once in a while, but at least we'll be calling it Metro, not Goss's pickup or Xena's pickup.
Yeah.
Whichever
Or
one of them
yeah.
like blow up first in popularity.
Right. 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 Like I like when 20XX when the league was over, and like Metro joined the voice chat, I literally went in there and literally asked. I literally told them, if you make this an established team and make a branding out of it, I will make you I will make you the logo or the branding for free.
Yeah.
Just do it. And
Just
they
please.
wouldn't do it. And they wouldn't do it. It's like, oh, I have school, I have this and this and this. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's challenging, and I get the challenge. Like, believe me, it could be tricky, but at the end of the day, like it would just be nice for, I'm sure, those like for those players themselves to want to call themselves on a team, and as well as be able to like flex that too. Like, you know, you could have like Team W be like, yeah, we won this and we won that, and like we're gonna win this next. We're coming for you or whoever, and create that rivalry too. It's been a long time since we've seen team rivalry. I mean, as as we know from like the North American World Championship qualifier, back when that little interview when Jackpot won, they wished it could have beat Starburst. They didn't really care about beating Crush Soda, but it's how it ended up going, and everyone remembers the Crush Soda versus Starburst, how it was a sweep, how they were able to Crush Soda beat them real easily. Um, that those are the storylines that you love to see, is like a team beat a team. It's not, oh, like nobody was like, whoever was on Crush Soda, like, oh, this player's team beat that. No, we called it Crush Soda beat Starburst. We didn't say
Yeah,
this pickup beat
it was a
Starburst.
big of it. No, no, it was crushed. Yeah.
Hopefully we get back to team times for viewer wise, production wise. It would make everything so much better, so much easier, so much more of a care to want to follow.
Yeah. Only time will tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we start wrapping things up, one of the last questions I do have is, what are some hopes that you might have for the future of Dapple Productions, if anything, right? Could be tourney wise, could be as the organization as a whole wise, um, if anything at all.
That is something that I like. I feel like the final goal I've set myself with Dapples is like, I want to provide something for my staff. I want
Mm-hmm.
to either if it's either like a monetary gain, or it's like a code in Splatoon, or like I don't know, or like I don't know. I don't like I want to like provide something to them, to like thank them for their passion and their hard work, which they keep pushing, and every single day they prove me that they can still do more than I expected them to. Like, I want to be able to provide something for them, which right now it doesn't look very feasible. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it doesn't look very feasible. Like, our I mean, at least, at the very least, the 20XX League was like the first ever, like 20XX that was not did not cause us to go in the negatives.
Mm-hmm.
It was the only tournament that the the donations paid for the entire league. Honestly, like
Mm-hmm.
the individual donations is like paid for the entire thing, and it also really helped that it was running over a 2 month period, because it gave people some more time to donate for us.
Mm-hmm.
And at, at the it's really you have to really skew your perspective to really feel like not going into the negatives is a success, but it is. And I really want into the future to go into the positives and be able to provide my stuff with like fifth, like I don't know, like a one time transfer exchange of like 50 euros or something, to like at least like provide them with something for as thanks for what they've been doing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's but like the more we're able to see seen help from from players themselves, not just from production. Obviously, like competing helps tournaments and helps, you know, a lot of these organizations continue to want to keep doing it, want to keep growing, but donations obviously help too, and that's something that we've seen a lot more of recently, of just trying to support those organizations like Dapple, like IPL, being able to um let them keep doing what they're doing at the best they can. And it's incredible to hear that that the 20X was able to like not go in the negatives. Like that's so rare to hear.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, from me, that was the last question I personally had for you, Pinky. So this is the time where the floor is yours. You could say shout out whoever, whatever you would like. Um, give you this time for before we wrap it all up.
Right. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me waffle about my pains and suffering for this past like hour. um, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I, if anything, like if you to the viewers watching, right? If you enjoy the stuff that we do, uh, if you like, I, if you want if any of like the waffling I did in the past hour has had any significance to you, please consider like supporting us on Ko-fi. It's dapple.inc/Ko-fi. It really helps like pushing that goal of providing our stuff with some money, like if not monetary, like something, right? Uh, it also helps fund future events that we decide to do. That's like the most direct way to like support us.
I love it. Support your orgs, support your locals, support your alliance, support your TOs, support each other. Like, where's the
Mm-hmm.
support? Where'd it go?
Yeah,
No one
just
wants to
love each
be
other.
no one wants to be the Zap player anymore.
Yeah.
No one wants to be the cooler bot in the community. But I love it. Absolutely. Could not have said it better myself. Pinky, again, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast and discussing the 20XX League overall. A little, of course, about yourself and in general, too. Just an amazing discussion we got to have this past hour. But that's going to do it from us here over at the Cactus Patch. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Same time, same place. See you then.